Imagine a league built by the people, for the people. A league dedicated to the economic development of your city. So the question becomes, how good are the 32 teams that play in the minor football league? Well, there's only one way to find out. You have to experience the
Welcome to another edition of Inside the MFL. I'm your host, Dr. Richard D. Myles Sr., CEO, Chairman, and Founder of the Minor Football League. I want to say to everybody, please wear your face mask. Even if you're going down the hall, wear your face mask, because this COVID-19 is for real. I've lost a loved one last week because of this COVID-19. So I just want everybody to take precaution and really, really be safe and look out for unselfish reasons. Do not wear your face mask. If someone else don't want to wear theirs, move away from them. I want to welcome y'all to say happy Wednesday to everybody. I'm excited about today's show. As you know, the MFL is the laboratory of change. I have my co-host with me today. Are you there? There you go. How you doing there, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. How you doing?
Hey, the more I look at your show, the more I get jealous of your show, because you do such a great job, Robert. So I just want to commend you on your show. Also, we have my GM. I have two GMs day here. I have the Georgia Warriors, Mr. Chuck Barlow Jr. How you doing, sir?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I heard you say something about the mask. I had to make sure I went and grabbed my mask to show that.
Yes,
I'm ready.
Also, we got the general manager for the Texas Rams out there in Houston. How you doing, Mr. Leslie Koroma? How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
All right.
At first, let me do this wellness check in. I want to ask everybody how you feeling, how you doing. Is everybody in good spirits and in good health?
Yes, sir. Doing well. No complaints here.
Yes, sir. But you know, Myles, I would say to everybody, we're on the verge of this is the last. We actually have a show next week too, but we're coming up on the holiday. Just asking everybody to be safe and don't get carried away in the revelations. The joy and the good times, because we still have to be safe. And so I'm just kind of giving everybody a heads up. Wherever you can, be safe as we go into the holiday season.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're probably because of the holidays that's coming up, that we will do a special edition of Inside the MFL, which will be Saturday. Because we want everybody, although we want to be around our loved ones, but be very mindful of if they're coming from a distance and stuff, you might want to pass it up. And I know that's hard for someone to say, because not only that, you don't want to endanger them as well as yourself, because we don't know at this point. And I always say it about this is a virus that we don't know what it is. We don't know about a cure, but the changing of the guards is coming up, and I like what he said. The first thing he's going to do is tackle this COVID-19, and that right there was just music to my ears, gentlemen. What y'all say about that?
I agree with that.
Yes, indeed. I think we still have a somewhat of a hesitancy on some people's part to take this seriously, but what we have to remember, we have to take care of ourselves, because our community is disproportionately affected. We tend to have some of the pre-existing conditions, the hypertension, high cholesterol, cancer, and those things are like breeding grounds for this COVID-19. So we can't let the media and other communities dictate what affects us. So we have to personally take out responsibility in our own hands.
Absolutely. And Mr. Koroma, I know down in Houston, I know it's spiking really bad. And I just want to say to everybody, be safe down in all the different parts of the country where the MFL franchises are. So tell us what's going on down there, sir.
It's pretty bad down here. I mean, we were the first state to hit 1 million infected people. You know, a million positive tests here in the state of Texas before California did. So it's been pretty bad down here. But you know how it is with the politics. You don't want to say what it is, and so we're staying as safe as possible, staying indoors and limiting our contact with folks out there. Wearing a mask when we go out, and so it's a dangerous situation down here.
And you know, I also know moving another part of down in the South. I know Mr. Chuck Barlow. I know it's down in Atlanta. I know y'all having it pretty bad as well.
Well, things have gotten better over time. So, you know, we're just making sure that we continue to share with people about the safety measures that they can take. You know, whether it's, you know, keep your hands clean and wearing your mask. I mean, it's all about really just, you know, operating as if you already have it so that you keep the people around you and your family safe. You know, one of the things that Mr. Gatewood talked about earlier was, you know, there's different things that our community do. One of the things that I definitely, you know, support is that you get out and do things on your own. Go walk, you know, stay healthy, eat your eat vitamins, you know, eat healthy, you know, stay away from foods that create all of the, you know, ways that can make you sick, you know, because a lot of times if you don't wait until the new year to do a resolution and we start now, right, you can get a head start. And I think now, you know, looking forward to 2021, you know, we have to really practice these things daily. So you talk about, you know, worrying about the virus and whether we're going to get, you know, a vaccine or not, we got to start practicing healthier habits at home and in our communities and sharing the things that are working.
That's so true. That is so true.
Absolutely. And Robert, I know, you know, we are concerned with everybody's health, of course, the MFL nation, but also, you know, we still, business as usual has to go on.
You know what, Myles? I am so glad you brought that up because we're actually facing two pandemics. We have the health pandemic, but we also have an economic pandemic that's ravaging our community. We're seeing businesses that are closing at record numbers. We're seeing companies, a lot of people that got that PPE money and the EIDL money. A lot of those companies, I just read a report that like 300 of the major companies that got the PPE money have closed anyway. And so we're about to embark upon a holiday season where people should be gearing up and stocking shelves and hiring extra help. Well, some of the large companies are Walmarts and the Amazons and so forth. But in our community, we have these communities, these small catering companies, small retail outfits, they're still suffering. And so what we have to do is to make sure that we support these businesses in any way we can. And that's one of the areas why I've been focusing a lot of my efforts lately is to make sure that these small companies are getting the information because many just don't have the information on how to pivot and refocus and take advantage of some of these opportunities that have been given birth during this pandemic. So I just want to do a call out to the small businesses that before you throw in the towel and before you put up the white flag, let's get the information. Let's tune into shows like this. Let's tune into my show. Let's pull on the resources in our community. And as the community, let's support these businesses first before we start spending all our money on places like Amazon and Walmart.
Absolutely. And Mr. Koroma, I know you can expand on that because I know in your business and what you're doing here in America as well as in Africa, I mean, what are you guys doing to kind to keep the community and everybody and let them, you know, kind of get, you know, education and the information is power. What are y'all doing down there in terms of that?
I can barely hear you on that. I don't know the line was breaking bad. Can you repeat that?
I was saying, you know, in what you're doing down there in Houston, along with your company, to educate people, and I was using the term, information is power. So I know you always doing some great things with with your business and along with in the community and as far as Africa too, with your organization as well. Can you hear me? I guess he didn't hear me having a little problem down. I don't know if the weather bad, but maybe you can expand on that a little more, Robert. As I say, Mr. Gatewood, information is power, and I know down there in Atlanta, where Mr. Chuck Barlow is. I mean, I'm quite sure y'all doing everything y'all can to, try to educate the community in terms of like what Mr. Robert Gatewood said about we have to step back and reevaluate things and see that, things are, don't throw the flag up as of yet.
Yeah, I mean, just like you were saying before, it's all about resiliency. Like times like these, everything is not bad. I was telling somebody before, I know a couple of organizations and businesses that are doing better than they were before COVID hit. It's a matter of whether you are filling a void or are you just doing business as usual. Even in the nonprofit space, many of the nonprofits were trying to, provide services front end, but many of them have had to pivot and be able to collaborate with other people online. That's what I really love about, this time is that people have stepped up to the plate. Organizations like the Minor Football League are doing Zooms, opening up to the world so they can see what type of opportunities are available to them. So I think it's all about us really just coming together and sharing what resources we have available in our communities and what can be available in other communities. It's all about looking at, what are the community's needs? A lot of times some of the resources are already there, but we have to make sure that collaboration is not just a conversation, it's an action, and then looking at it from a collective impact perspective. Like, how can all of us win? The only way we can do that is we have to share what is winning for us up front. And that's why I love the MFL and the general managers and the business directors and the executive board members you brought on board, because I haven't heard anybody talk about themselves. Mr. Gatewood has a company, but his company is all about helping other businesses grow. And I know Mr. Koroma, what he's doing in Africa and in Houston, has the same perspective. So I feel like, these times are not just about, the things that are going to happen, right? What they say, you can make things happen or you can let it happen to you. And so I think that the Minor Football League is a great opportunity for, the Black Friday, for us to buy black, support your own community. If you're going to spend some money, go to a black gas station, go to a black store. There are a lot of businesses online that have some awesome products. But of course, when you get to those big box companies, you have to give away a lot of your wealth just to put your stuff on their shelf. So, we have to definitely continue to just market and promote each other. When somebody does a good service or business for you, share that, contact with someone else.
Mr. Koroma, can you hear us now, sir?
Yeah, well, I'm right back.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know, for whatever reason, I was having technical issues back here. But yeah, regards to this coronavirus and the climate out here, I think we're doing our best in terms of trying to make sure folks staying safe, first of all, because that's the most prominent thing for us to do right now, is to make sure everybody's safe. We got to live through this. We got to survive this. We got to come out on the other end of this alive, and what's important also, just like Mr. Gatewood said, is the economic ramifications of what this is. There's a serious situation with this COVID, and coming out of this economically is going to be vital for pretty much everyone out there, especially in Africa, where you don't have the support structure. We have bailouts and all other kinds of stuff here in America, but you don't have that in Africa. You don't have anyone bailing anybody out there. It's governments are strapped, individuals are surviving by the day. So it's a different dynamics on the other side, So, but we want to make sure that folks, what we're preaching right now, especially with what I do out there, and with the opportunity to bring the MFL out there, it's hard to hit the ground. I don't want to say hit the ground running coming out of COVID, but how to come out of COVID with the support of the sports industry, for one thing. How that's going to be of vital importance in stimulating other sectors of the economy out there. You know, the sports sector by itself, it says, is worth over $700 billion globally. But Africa, you know, like I said, I think I said something about this in the past on this program, where I think we only get to realize about 5 to 10 billion of that $700 billion, the global worth of the sports industry, which is a travesty in a sense, because you got so much talent coming out of Africa. So how do we transform, you know, the situation to where African nations and different communities across Africa get to realize the value of the sports industry, which in itself has a broader reach into other aspects of many other aspects of other parts of the economy, like the hospitality industry, transportation, you know, because when you have a booming sports industry, the hospitality industry, the hotels and restaurants, they stay alive. They boom. When you have a thriving in the sports industry, you have the transportation sector of things also gets to thrive. So if we're able to impact all of those other industries through a vibrant sports industry, I think we would have done a whole lot of good in terms of, and so that's what we're looking at coming out of COVID in terms of what kind of impact we can have on society coming out of this. But the first and foremost thing is to survive this, is to come out of this. So making sure that everybody is, you know, keep your distance. Obviously, the social distance, can't overemphasize that. You know, wear your mask. You know, ain't no macho business in that. It's just simple. It's just simple. It's just as simple as it is. You know, wear your mask, or you know, it's a whole nother issue. You know, so those are the things we're pushing out there. You know, making sure that folks stay safe, as well as we look at the future of sports. Post-COVID, in terms of how not just over there, but even over here in America as well. You know, what happens after COVID? I know we got thriving leagues in America, like the NFL and the NBA and the Major League Baseball. Those are multi-billion-dollar leagues, but you got a lot of other leagues like us here with the MFL that had to come out of COVID. You know, hit the ground running in a sense, and so. How do we get to do that coming out of this? So that's very important for us, you know, to have a grasp on how we come out of this.
You know what, Mr. Koroma, I was listening to you and I listened to Chuck. I think one of the things that we have to do as I did a show last week. We were talking about how to expand geographically and demographically. And I think what the MFL is doing is a solid plan, is to expand the playing field. If I can use a sports analogy, we have to grow the field, because right now we haven't necessarily hit the ceiling at the growth level in the United States. But why even try to hit the ceiling when we have the entire continent of Africa into which we can expand? So it's not just professional sports, but I ask all companies. I was talking to a young man, one of my clients. He's been in the cleaning industry, and when I talk about him, I think about his cleaning company. He does commercial cleaning. Well, he calls me about a month ago. And he's over in Africa. I said, man, what you doing in Africa? I said, he said, man, let me tell you something. He said, Africa is the place to be. He said, people who don't open up their vision, their scope, their plans, they're missing out. So that's why I see where the MFL can be a trailblazer in this regard. And you don't have to be a professional sports franchise. All you have to do is be visionary. And whether you're expanding from Washington, D.C., where I am, to looking at expanding your business down to Atlanta or some other place, I think these small companies that are being impacted by COVID, they have to expand their playing field. That's one of the things I've been telling people to do. Demographically and geographically are the two biggest ways to do it. Look at maybe going after a different demographic. If you've been targeting young folks all your business life, start looking at some of those other demographics that may be more, that are booming now. In COVID. Same thing when it comes to location. We're so used to selling our food around the corner and to the company down the street. When you have a whole world out here that's open up to you now through these different distribution channels, such as downloads and home delivery and mail order, these big companies got it. They figured it out, and they are just racking in money as fast as they can count it. They can't keep up with the money. for some of our smaller businesses, we need to start looking at some of these other opportunities that are being generated now in Africa, other parts of the country, and even demographics within our locations to help make these businesses grow. And you're right, Mr. Barlow, we don't have to wait to January 1st.
That's right.
We need to start doing this today. I mean, yesterday.
That's right.
What do you think?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's all about starting where you are. Like, we don't have to, try to find another starting line, right? I mean, look around you. It's enough space and opportunity for us to get started where we are, right? I think we've just always looked for a Superman, not realizing that, look, collectively, we are the Superman. It's not the imagery of an individual person. That's nice to see one person doing it, but we all know that's not how things really work, right? We know that it's a collective thing. And so just as you talked about before, the young man expanding, we all have to expand our horizon. It's almost scriptural. No matter what your belief is, right? It says something about plant a seed, right, and it'll grow. But if you plant no seed, what's going to grow, right? And so as you talk about, moving beyond COVID, being able to survive through the COVID piece, right? There are so many organizations that have free webinars online all day. I mean, you got mental health webinar, you got business seminar. I signed up for it myself, right? Because I'm trying to make myself better, iron sharpen iron, right? And that helps with the countenance of men. So I think, we have to go back to what we know works. I took a course called the Institute of National Transformation a couple years ago, where it was all about us learning about like 1,000-year-old plans, right? In other words, success is not something new. It's something that has been able to be duplicated from things that you have been done before, right? It is nothing new under the sun, right? The same things are here that man has had before, and it's all about us preserving it. The only way we preserve that is we got to take our time. Sometimes we got to just call a time out, and press pause, peace be still, because I think, sometimes in this type of environment, you can run so hard and so fast and forget that, maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. Things are not going to ever be the way that they used to be. It's always going to be something new. And so, we always just have to be open to listen. I think and it's good that the MFL has perspective. It has, because I see the intergenerational value of having, multiple different cultures of people, ages of people in different regions. I mean, it's 16 different markets in America. It's going to be 16 markets in Africa. If you had a product or a service that you can put in the 16 markets in America, you're trying to expand a business. If it works in one community of color, I'm sure it'll work in another.
In this, I'm glad you said that, gentlemen, because we have to realize that what we're embarking on is something special. And I still think that we still behind somewhat, Mr. Gatewood, in terms of, accepting the fact that the norm is now. This is the new norm. I hear people constantly saying, when we get back to normal, I just shake my head. This is the norm. Ain't nothing going back to the way things was. As a matter of fact, I don't think, depending on how your day went, I don't think you would want to relive that same time again anyway. I mean, you know what I mean? Although hopefully we did the right things, Mr. Koroma, but if we did something that we might have second thoughts about, I don't think we would really want to, relive that. What are y'all thoughts on that?
Myles, you had a good point. You were saying that going back, some of us really don't want to go back the way we were, because I mean, I'm a prime example. I do not want to go back to pre-COVID. My business is doing better now than it has done in the 30 years I've been in business. Now, not that I just happen to be one with the luck of the draw. I happen to be in an industry that's in demand now. People want technology services. They want to upgrade their websites. They want to be able to do business online, virtual services, streaming video. We do all of that. So we have done fine. I've actually hired 5 people in the last 3 months. So, but the point is that not to pat myself on the back. My point is that because I happen to be a marketing guy, I tend to look down the road, and which I'm encouraging my listeners and followers to do. I'm going to introduce a word to you, a phrase to you that everybody in business needs to get familiar with, and that's called supply line. Supply line. don't just look at where you are now or the company you're doing business with. You have to look beyond that person and the supply line. If I'm doing business with a restaurant and all of a sudden there's no chicken, if the chicken industry goes under, that means that restaurant client is going to be affected.
Right.
And so we have to get out of that checkers playing into chess playing and looking beyond what's right in front of us. So what I've been trying to encourage all of my clients to do is not just look at it from a challenge, from a bad perspective, look at it from a positive perspective. Like right now, the three most dangerous industries right now, where you're more likely to get COVID, are the restaurant industry, the gyms, and the hotels. Now, as a business owner, you need to start look at that data and say, okay, how does this affect me? It could affect you in a positive way. It could affect you in a negative way. And like Mr. Barlow said earlier, don't just sit around and wait for stuff to happen to you. Because usually when that happens, it's not good. You have to take the initiative. So once again, I want people to go into a room, close the door, light the candles, turn on incense, or whatever you have to do. Look at the restaurant industry. Look at the gyms. Look at the hotel industry, the hospitality. How is that going to affect your industry? Do you need to change something, or do you need to ramp up your operations and change things in a positive way to grab that money that's out there? So the lesson is, I'll say it again, you can sit and let things happen to you, or you can go out here and make things happen. And Mr. Myles, we gave an example of how we started the show. We've sitting around, we done got kicked off out of our studios, Radio One and the DC Entertainment. We could have just sat there and let things happen. Man, before they could even close the door good, we were back on there.
Absolutely. And pushing,
And pushing and gonna come out strong on the other end. That's the thing. When you make proactive steps, you actually do better than sitting there waiting on something to happen to you.
Because then you letting other people and the MFL, we believe in controlling the narrative. You know what I mean? You don't want somebody else controlling the narrative, because when you do, you're in trouble right off the break. So by controlling the narrative, we get the opportunity to dictate what we want to do. You know what I mean, Mr. Koroma?
Oh, definitely. COVID, like we all know, is a certain it's downside, and obviously, but there's a silver lining to all of that, and the doors that are being opened. For example, with the MFL, running a league like the MFL, back say 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you might could need a whole bunch of heavy equipment, for TV broadcast and a whole lot of other stuff out there. But with what we're seeing now, the dynamics have changed. I mean, drastically, and those are some of the silver linings we're looking at, with this COVID, because now a league like this is going to thrive eventually, regardless, whatever, with the tools that are being made available now. I think it's the right time. I'm not saying the last 25 years haven't been the right time. I'm saying, like, right now, we're looking at coming out of this, going into the next phase in life. We've come through, I think we'll say, the internet generations, where we've had, it was when you interacted with your computers, were man to machine, and then eventually it was people to people, social media, and then eventually now we have what you call the Internet of Things, where even your shoes can communicate with the internet, telling how many calories you're burning and all that stuff. And so you have so much interaction going on. But that brings a whole lot of, what I call massive opportunities to leagues like the MFL that's established, that's been there and is ready to grow, expand into Africa. And we wouldn't have thought, the possibility of taking the league to Africa would have been, in terms of the amount of investment dollar-wise, would have been so much more immense in 10, 20 years ago, as opposed to now, where streaming the content coming out of the league in Africa would be so much easier, so much easier through the league's own streaming outlet and stuff like that. So, I mean, I besides the folks, God rest their souls, who are dying from this, and God help us all, come to make it out of this successfully. I think there's also so much out there waiting for us on the other side of this unfortunate situation, to get us to the other side and for life to thrive beyond this point where we're at right now. So I have a very, very optimistic and positive outlook on what leagues like the MFL and what we're also doing in Africa with an Africa Collegiate League that we're also trying to establish on that side with the colleges out there in Africa, trying to mirror basically what the NCAA is doing here in America, but we're trying to create a parallel set of opportunities over there. So just want to open the doors for folks. There's limited opportunities in Africa. And so that's why I was so thrilled when I eventually came across you, Mr. Myles. I felt like this was such a blessing in disguise because, those are the things we're looking at. In Africa, just I don't know if you noticed on my Facebook page the last few days, we were covering what we call the Africa Cup of Nations, which is the soccer tournament over there. And it was like they had to qualify, and it's a big deal. Now, that's the only major sports property you have on that side. Besides that, there's nothing else. So there's no diversification in terms of opportunities. So we don't have, all the way until recently when the NBA announced the NBA Africa League, and now, with the MFL announcing, the expansion to Africa with 16 of its franchises. That's when you will start to look at, say, well, this is massive because this is what's going to create the opportunities we've been talking about that we need on that side of the world. Because you only have one major sports property. While here in America, you have, let's say the NFL, which is, with the Super Bowl, you have Major League Baseball with the World Series, you have the NBA, you have, the NCAA with so many, conferences. So you have so much going on with sports, and that you got so much opportunities open to so many. In Africa, you got almost 1.3 billion people. But the opportunities are so limited. They're so limited. So it forces people out, So you hear about kids who are trying to cross the Sahara Desert, to cross through the Mediterranean, and some of them drown and die to cross over into Europe, just to seek opportunity. But now we're bringing that in there. This is what some of us have been crying for, advocating. This is needed on that side of the world because it's vital, it's important. Not everybody, you don't have to necessarily come out to succeed. You can stay right there in Africa and succeed. That's the most important thing. And for a league like the NFL coming and bringing a game where you find a lot of guys of African heritage playing in the NFL here as well, and they play in the game, period. It's a no-brainer, it's a no-brainer. And looking at the amount of Nigerians alone in the NFL, you can tell, right? So let's take that for example. You got 200 million people in Nigeria alone. That's a massive market. So I'm looking at potentially we could have like maybe 4 franchises in Nigeria alone of the MFL. Because that's a massive market by itself.
Wow, million. That's a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And that what makes it so massive, the fact that we realize that market there, and I've realized that for almost 10 years now. So this is not something new for me. I was preparing for this, and you're looking at over there in Africa, those athletes, man, that a lot of them even come to America to go to school here so they can play football here. Well, now it's there. Now the little kids there can look up to the other individuals that's playing in the MFL and say, hey, okay, I ain't got to go over there or wonder how I'm going to get over there. That's right here. You know, so what that means, we have people already there, a market, untapped market, because as Dr. Freeman told me before, the NFL only get maybe 60% of the market here in America in terms of sponsor dollars. So, you know, you got another, you know, what's that, 40 million that's just idle. And I know that's your expertise, Mr. Robert. You know, what did that mean for us, the MFL, as an organization, and what we're doing?
Well, we go back to our marketing textbook where I look at thing called critical mass. And critical mass is that point where you have really reached the point where you're starting to take full advantage of your resources and things are really kicking. And it's so much opportunity. There's so much room to grow. When you have a continent as big as Africa, and like Brother Koroma said, 200 million in Nigeria alone, that is just so much massive beyond measure opportunity. And so what we as business owners have to do is to dust off our marketing and business development crystal balls and put out that net and lay down that groundwork. And like you said, keep bringing in people like the talented gentleman you have on the screen today and making those partnerships. That's one of the foundational aspects, almost part of the marketing code, that as you grow and your business starts to proliferate and go towards that critical mass, is that you have to form those partnerships. You can, what is the old saying, you can go far by yourself, you can go fast by yourself, but you go far with others. And I think we're seeing that when you start looking at people like Dr. Eubanks and other people that you brought into the organization. That's going to help the MFL go far. And even Mr. Koroma there from Africa, that's going to help the MFL really go far. And like I said earlier, to expand that playing field. And so it's an exciting time. And once again, like I say, we're going to have this pandemic with us. I hate to keep throwing that in there, but what we have to do as leaders and developers and people who are looking up to us, we have to think out. I hate to sound cliche, but think outside that traditional box.
Yeah.
And Mr. Koroma brought up a good point. There's these virtual things. Some of the overhead is actually going to be reduced. And so we look at the positive things that can come out of this and expand into other areas in exploratory ways. So I don't look at any of this as a thumbs down, or I really regret people that have lost their livelihoods and their lives and their loved ones. But as business owners, we have to keep uplifting. We have to keep pushing forward because it depends on us to feed people, to put people to work, to grow these organizations. So we can never throw in the towel. We have to keep growing. We have to keep trogging. We have to keep slogging. We have to lay in bed at night staring at the ceilings to make sure that these organizations stay afloat.
That's right.
And that's you, Mr. Barlow. I know that these types of things are right up your alley because of your ties in the community and with other organizations. And I want to say congratulations. I heard your school got their accreditation back. You know, we want to acknowledge that. You know, I'm quite sure that everybody's excited about that. They're having their, getting their accreditation back.
Yeah, so just so we can make sure that we correct it, our application was accepted. So that means that we on our way back. So I mean,
I stand to be corrected.
No, but look, I say speak it into existence, right? That's only because you've been following the news. And so guess what? For it's been a while, a couple of decades since Morris Brown has been able to get positivity like that in the news. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. And the fact that the MFL supports our HBCUs, coaches, players, alumni. You know, I know that you told me several months ago you had a couple of your buddies who you played with at Cordoza who went to Morgan State, you know. So, you know about the HBCU experience, and those guys got an opportunity to get some coaching on the HBCU level and made it to the NFL. But one of the things that my father always told me, and it's something that I just always kept in the back of my mind, was he said, setbacks are setups for comebacks. says setbacks are set up for comebacks. Now, a lot of people, take that, wrong and say, I don't want to be set back, and you can't choose when I'm set back, but you have to be prepared. A setback is always going to happen in your life. And that's why when you talk about people who have grit and resilience, right? A lot of people are strong, but some people, once things happen to them, they don't bounce back the same way. And I think, in our communities, we have done so. And now it's time for us to move from the surviving to thriving. How can we make sure that as we continue to set up all these great opportunities that we don't leave nobody behind, right? Many of those who have had success, just like the head coach, Solomon Brandon, he did collegiate bowl games in Africa a couple of years ago before things, wouldn't allow them to go back. But, now he's a head coach, a part of the MFL. So now we can go back with a stronger brand and a stronger conversation to support the collegiate and the younger students as they're growing up, learning about sports. And one other thing I wanted to say, I participate with a lot of organizations like the Laureus Foundation. That organization is all over the world. The Dikembe Mutombo, a lot of these people involved in it. And one of the things they say is sports is the international language, right? You can get on the field, you throw a ball out there, any kind of ball, right? People start communicating some kind of way. They don't even know the same languages, but they know throw, catch, hit, run, score, but that's a way for us to have a chance to have a conversation. And I think that as we talk about sports, right? Sports is entertainment, but it's also a way to express yourself, and it's also therapeutic. We always talk about the damage that it does on your body, but you think about the camaraderie and the community that it brings together and the opportunities that it will allow for entertainers and community development, which is one of the MFL focus areas, laboratory of change. The fact that we have a woman owner, Dr. Diane in the MFL, the fact that we have so many, like I have several women on our board with the Georgia Warriors. I have some awesome people, and that's what I hear a lot from you as the leader of the MFL, is that, listen, the good people are out there. Don't run and just find anybody, right? You know who the good people are. Give people a chance. Give the good people a chance. And those who made mistakes in life, guess what? Be willing to give them another chance, because in other communities, they do, right? They never neglect their own. And so it's our responsibility to take care of our own. And then lastly, I'll just say this. No matter what industry you go into, even in entrepreneurship, we got to make sure that everybody learns some technical skills, right? I was talking to one of my students that we serve in the community, grandmother, 80 years old, taking care of this student. Now she has to get a computer. Last time she touched anything that was similar to a computer was a typewriter. So that got her at least in the door. But she talked about the fact that seniors need digital literacy too. And so I'm hoping through the MFL, we can bridge a lot of these gaps. There are some awesome organizations doing work in our communities, and we just have to make sure that we keep those things in perspective.
Absolutely. I'm glad you stated that, but and to piggyback on something that you said earlier about how people, it's up to them how they react to falling, because even when you was a baby, you're gonna fall, but you kept getting up. And I tell people the MFL, we're like a ball, a rubber ball, around, and a ball is round. So no matter how you bounce it's gonna bounce the same way. It's gonna bounce back up to you. Now, whether you ready for it or not, it's up to you. But the harder you throw it down, the higher it's gonna spring back up. So in saying those things, that you're right. We have to improvise. We have to adapt. We have to adjust. Being a person of color, African American, you gentlemen know better than anybody else that they're not of our nationality. We are very resilient. You know what I mean? We had to for 400 years. What we've been doing, we still here. That tells you something about us. You know what I mean? That tell you that we're not going to take it. So eventually, we going to get up, man. Don't matter how much weight you put on us, we going to get up. As simple as that. So in saying that, we want people to understand the laboratory change. When it's not just football here, as you guys so eloquently put it, that we are the laboratory of change. We want to bring former players from the field to the front office. We want former, we want players beyond the field, because you can't play this game forever. And people in school, these young people in school, we're the laboratory of change. If you're in there for sports management, that's where you need to be.
Right.
Okay. If you there for marketing, okay, we know what's going on with school. But the great thing about it, you're in front of these computers. And just to go back to what Mr. Koroma said earlier, yeah, 15 years ago, man, this thing would have cost a mint, because we used to have those mobile trucks go around to different games. And I always had people complaining when they're going to get the game of the week, because that truck had to travel and broadcast that game, but you could only do one game. With technology, and I tell people all the time, excuse me, thank God for social media, because right now, everybody's game is broadcast right now. We have 6 different vendors, thanks to the hard work of our board member, Dr. Freeman, that really, they bidding to screen these games. So all our games will be on, and the great thing about it, now, you don't have to be in front of your computer. You can have your phone. It's going to pop right up. It's going to pop up. And as Mr. Koroma told me, he have a company down there, they're interested. That I think company that y'all dealing with too over in Africa as well, right, sir? If I'm standing completely correct. So, thank God for the social media now. And as Mr. Gatewood will tell you, we got things in our corner right now. We are the laboratory of change and everything. And I do believe in timing is everything. Timing is, timing is everything, gentlemen. And, we at the right time, the moon is setting in the right place, the hourglass, the corona is here, and we here, everything goes in sequence, and then maybe you want to go ahead and expand on that, Mr. Gatewood?
Well, absolutely. Both these gentlemen made some excellent points, and I would expand on what Brother Barlow said about technology, and even what Mr. Koroma said about the how some of the what we call barrier to entry. When we look at technology and what it has done in many industries, it has lowered the barrier to entry. And in barrier to entry from a business standpoint are usually things that keep other people out, keep people from jumping in because it's too hard to get in. Now, that's a double-headed sword, though. That's a double-headed coin, because when we lower the barriers to entry, that means we're going to have more competition too. So whenever we lower a barrier entry, like you said, if you notice now, everybody can put up a radio show or a TV show pretty easily now, because the barrier to entry has been reduced. But that doesn't mean, once again, you sit there and just let it happen to you. That means when one barrier comes down, you have to find others to put up. And sometimes that means things like intellectual property. It could mean expertise. It could mean a certification. It could mean a certain type of alliances. So we have to stay on our game at all times and not let things just happen. If I can put up a show like this, that means somebody else can, but they're never going to be me. They're never going to be Mr. Barlow or Mr. Koroma or Dr. Myles. We have to keep our game tight. We have to keep improving. We have to keep finding ways to advance, making those alliances. And that's one thing that the MFL, which I have always seen as a very good barrier, is that it has the ability to go out here and make alliances like nobody else. Some joker off the street cannot walk out here and make these kind of alliances like the MFL. So to me, I see that as a very important barrier to entry, but it's also a lesson to other business owners. Look at your business and what kind of barriers can you create to keep yourself, what we call also unique selling positions, we call differentiators. You have to keep adding those to your business in order to stay ahead of the pack. Otherwise, you're just another business out here doing what everybody else is doing. So don't let the easy part, because something becomes easy, don't let it stop there. If it got easy for you, it's easy for somebody else too. You better go find some other barriers to make it more difficult for other people to take your business away from you.
Yeah. And that's true, because you tell people, I always say offer, imitate it, but never duplicate it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people always look at it as, you always want to have something unique than other people.
Right.
First, it has to be a product that is a need for, as you know. What is a bigger need than sports? You know what I mean? I mean, you got generations after generations that come, because people get older, like me, Then the younger people come. Then we move on. And what they bring is more innovation, as we would say. Am I right, Mr. Gatewood? You have to understand, we have to be very innovative. And as you know, Mr. Koroma, out there, because you dealing with on both continents, what makes y'all so different than everybody else over there? As you stated, Nigeria alone got so many billions of people. You know, what makes your business different from everybody else?
Well, first of all, what we're doing is we're coming from the private perspective. We've never had a private sports company operate on the continent. That's the first thing. We have everything else is in the public domain out there. You have governments, you have associations, and they're not dealing with business. They're not dealing with the sports business from the business side. They're dealing with the sports business strictly from what they know, which is from the old ways of doing things. And so that's why it's not growing. That's not why things are not growing. So we're bringing in new dynamics, and we're coming in from the business perspective. Because sports is a business at the end of the day. Let's be clear about that. There has to be a return on investment. You can't sugarcoat that. You know, we can have all the goodwill in the world. We can have all the great ideas in the world. The bottom line at the end of the day is someone spends X amount of hours putting in work for anything they expect to be paid back for it. That's the bottom line. So we're bringing that dynamics to the space. And we bring a situation where any company that wants to partner with us won't have to deal with the politics or the hang-ups they were dealing with before we arrived on the scene. You know, Africa Sports Ventures Group. So that's the dynamics that we're bringing. So ever since we came up and we came around, there's been a whole lot of companies trying to, you know, partner up with us and do business with us because they see the ease of doing business from the private sector side as opposed to the public sector side, which has a whole lot of politicking, a whole lot of corruption issues, a whole lot of bickering. You know, so you don't have to deal with that. You know, it's a few times me and you have had a conversation. You've talked about, you've spoken to this government and that government or whatever, you know, individuals here and there. But the point with that is you're dealing with people who might not be in power in the next 5 years. Yeah. Now, we're a company. We're going to be here for X amount of years till kingdom come, you know. So you don't have to worry about, you know, those guys. Where's Mr. Koroma? No, he's not around. No, Mr. Koroma is going to be here for the next decade. Or he'll be and beyond. You know, you have a steady partner in what we bring to the space. And plus the fact that we bring a lot of innovation in terms of the way the sports business is done. You know, we bring, like I said, the private sector side to it, bringing in technology and all this stuff. Things that folks on that side might be a bit shy on embracing and on the get-go, you know. So we'll bring that, and we're gonna put that. We talk about the laboratory of change, Mr. Myles. That's exactly. It's almost. I also want to steal that from you, but you know, that's the concept. That's the concept. Basically, introducing. So even partnering with the MFL to bring the MFL to Africa, you know, and have it as a viable league on that side of the world is part of the testament of what we're bringing to the table to bring a change to what's been out there, but it's not been working. So if you can't tap into a $700 billion industry, but you know, even say by 5%, then that's a major issue. That's a major problem. Because you're looking at less than, I mean, when I say 10 billion, that's even being generous, to be honest with you. You know, the most expensive sports property, like I said initially, is the Africa Cup of Nations, which is a soccer tournament. That's the biggest sports property, it's like the Super Bowl. They had a company out of France decide to pay for media rights for 12 years, just $1 billion. And you got sports clubs in Europe signing $5 billion deals for 6-7 years. And you have a whole continent selling one unique sports property, media rights for just $1 billion for 12 years. That was highway robbery. Mm-hmm. That deal was revisited, and they took the rights away from them. Right now, The Confederation of African Football is sitting there with no media rights owner to the Africa Cup of Nations. But that's something that will be sorted out. But that was highway robbery. That's because folks don't know. This is how you make your money. This is how you make your money. You know? So we have those issues, and so we're trying to get folks to open up their eyes. And so the objective is with what we got coming in with MFL, what we bringing in with the collegiate league, and then with the basketball African league from the NBA. We're hoping that in the next 10 years, that income can go up to $40-50 billion in terms of what Africa can get from the sports industry. But I mean, we're looking for more than that. But that's a benchmark to say by 2030, around about this time, when we talk again, and in 2030, by this time, we should be saying that Africa's sports industry is worth about $50 billion as an industry. But right now, I'd say about 5 to 10. 5 to 10 is too much. 5 billion. The entire continent, 54 countries. And that's a shame. Well, we hope by which time, 10 years from now, that the MFL will be one of the most vibrant leagues on that side, and we'll be having the World Bowl. Now, this is for real. We'll be having the World Bowl in a massive kind of way, a major celebration, having high schools and all of them having, football leagues. So that's my dream.
And and I'm glad you said that. 2 points I touch on quickly. We do have a few minutes left. The fact that you're right. People have to get paid. You work and you have to get paid. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we got to understand that alliances, something that Chaplain Gatewood will tell you, the MFL make alliances, and you have to have alliances. Mm-hmm. That's how you do. That's how we've been so successful over the years, and we go in the community because we don't want politicians involved with this. We like their help input, but as far as that, they'll know we will pay our way as we go. That way, we're not beholden to no one at all. You know what I mean? So we keep everything. We keep everything in the private sector. That's why when talk to those politicians, yes, but I made it clear to everybody, and some of the kings I talked to that, no, we do not want we want private people owning these franchises. That's what we want. That's what we want to do. You don't need to build anything, for us. No, we will use what you have there. You know what I mean? We'll use what you have. So that way we accomplish a lot at one time. And I'll give Mr. Barlow real quick because we have a couple of more minutes because I know how he want to have a little input on that. But that's how the MFL go. We here to enhance what people doing. We're not just here to take anything away. That's what the MFL is about.
And I think, go ahead. You want to say something, Coach Koroma?
No, I was just going to say something real quick. When you talk about the private sector, and you talk about in the situation in Africa, you look at here in America, we don't have a Secretary of Sports or Minister of Sports. We don't have that here in America, and that's why you find why sports thrives so well, because it's all in the private sector. While in Africa, you got too much political involvement, it muddies the waters because you got people with interest that are not supposed to be in the space, and they're messing things up. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Barlow. My bad.
No, I think you hit it right on the head, Coach. I think part of what we have to make sure we do moving forward is that we take time to listen to one another. Like, we all don't have all the answers, right? It's about a collective thought and knowing that what do we really want as outcomes, right? We want a better community. We want to thrive in communities. And that's why I love what the MFL stands for in terms of community and economic development, and that we can do this together. It is our responsibility. And the fact that, Mr. Myles is bringing on people who care about community, and the fact that, one of the stories I'll just tell real quickly as we close out, to be able to offer my head coach that offered me the opportunity to come to college to play, a job to be able to coach my linebackers, only the MFL could have done that. Like, only the MFL, only the minor football league. That's why I tell people, experience the MFL, because the MFL is here.
Amen.
Yes, and gentlemen, I just want to say that the MFL is the laboratory of change, and we want to take, former players from the field to the front office, but having people like Mr. Leslie Koroma and people like Mr. Chuck Barlow, these are the types of people that the MFL bring with us. And as you know, our money guru is Mr. Robert Gatewood. But I want you guys to tell our audience
Yeah, I think he was asking us to give our contacts before we close out. Well,
Can you hear me?
I'm Chuck Barlow Jr. I'm the GM of the Georgia Warriors. I can be reached at Georgia Warriors NFL@gmail.com.
If you can't hear me, gentlemen,
We hear you.
we'll wrap the show up. This has been another edition of Inside the MFL with Dr. Richard D. Myles. We'll see you Friday.
Thank y'all. Have a good day.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.